Mark Bishop Show. Truly like a box of chocolates. You never know who you're going to meet. From business, lifestyle, and fun. Here's Mark.
And welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Mark Bishop Show. You know, when it comes to hurricane season, it only takes one storm to change lives and communities. So my guest for this episode will teach you how to strengthen your home before the next storm. IBHS Senior Meteorologist and Senior Director of Product Design, Sarah Clapa. Hi, Sarah. Welcome.
Hi, Mark. Welcome. Thanks. Or not welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Now, look, even if this season isn't expected to be especially active, I don't know what part of America they're talking about here, but why shouldn't people, let their guard down?
Well, the number one reason is because it only takes one storm for it to be impactful for you. We have seen numerous seasons where it might be relatively quiet in the way of tropical activity, but we just need one storm to make landfall for it to be a meaningful and impactful season. This is the case going all the way back to 1992. I know that's an old one, but I mentioned that one because it was so impactful. It was Category 5 Hurricane Andrew slamming into southeast Florida. And so the devastation that resulted from that storm, that was, memorable for 1992. But the remainder of that season, there wasn't a lot of other activity. And so since it's Andrew, right, it's the first named storm of the season, and it was in late August, which we're approaching now. So it really does only take one storm, and that's why we want folks to not get too detracted by the fact that we are going to be seeing this potentially very strong El Nino setup, which can typically mean more harsh conditions in the tropical Atlantic. But we can have windows where that is favorable for tropical development, and we can also see that close to home. And these storms can rapidly intensify if the conditions are right long enough, and then they can impact without a lot of lead up and leaving us time to prepare. So that's why preparing early in the season is so important.
Well, we're talking about preparing. What low-cost steps do you think can make the biggest difference, Sarah? And why is it, do you think, that people think hurricane risk is only a coastal issue? So inland communities should also pay attention, right?
Absolutely. So I'll point to that one first. As we see tropical storms and hurricanes make landfall at the coast, they are typically their strongest. They're their strongest in the way of winds, because the Saffir-Simpson scale is the scale by which we rate tropical storms and hurricanes, right? So Category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're familiar with this, but this is based on the winds only, and just the winds right around the eye of the hurricane. But these can be very impactful at the coast. However, as these storms continue inland, as the winds and the upper levels carry them further inland, they start to undergo different transitions. And in their post-tropical phase, or in their tropical phase as they move inland, they can still be very impactful. We had Hurricane Ida make landfall in the Gulf Coast in Louisiana in 2021. That was a high-end Category 4 hurricane. It was very impactful in that area. But then as that storm traveled hundreds of miles inland, even potentially over 1,000 miles inland towards New York City, it caused devastating flooding in the city in its post-tropical phase. We also saw this here in western North Carolina just 2 years ago with Hurricane Helene, made landfall in the Big Bend of Florida as a Category 4 on the Gulf Coast. As it traversed inland, significant damage in southeastern Georgia in the way of tree canopy loss, hundreds of downed trees, and winds over 100 miles per hour, devastating winds here in western North Carolina, and the generational flood event, really, that we saw here. So those are just two examples of really impactful storms, both at the coast and inland.
So, Sarah, why?
And then the other part of your question, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. The other part of your question is talking about some of the things that you can do that are accessible, things you can do on the weekend, relatively low cost. Those are going to be things like cleaning out your gutters. Your gutters allow the water on your roof to be carried away and through the downspouts. So making sure that those are cleaned out, that's a great way to help stop water from potentially backing up on your gutter and getting into your roof and attic and causing water damage. Also sealing gaps and cracks around your doors and windows. As you see that caulking start to peel away or pull away as it ages, those are good things to start and plug back up. And during an event, if you do experience one, a good tip is to put towels at the bases of your windows and doors, because that's a common place of water entry during these storms. And then also consider your roof. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. We don't often look up at our roof, but we want people to start looking up at the roof and considering, what is on my roof? How does it look? Are there signs of wear and tear or damage that need to be inspected? Do I see water spots underneath the roof in my attic? If you see any signs or things you're just not sure about, look up a licensed and insured roofing contractor. They can come out and do an inspection for you. And some of those may offer, a free inspection. It just depends on the company. But that's a good tip to do each season, just to make sure that your roof is ready.
Well, yeah, the roof, I mean, well, why is it considered the home's first line of defense? And for that matter, what does a garage door have to do with roof damage?
Yeah. Well, your roof is your first line of defense, because if you think about it, right, it is taking the brunt of everything that nature has to throw at it, right? It's got just the sun's rays beating down on a hot summer day. Roof temperatures here at our roof aging farm here in South Carolina can get upwards of 180 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit on those roof materials. So they're going through a lot, not to mention just the daily wind and rain and snow that they may see as well. So they're trying to shed water and keep the elements out of your home. So that's why making sure that it is healthy and in working order, even if it's, in its sort of like midlife years we want to talk about, we always want you to just keep in mind what's the condition of your roof.
Interesting.
The connection between, the connection between garage doors and roofs. This is something that we found at IBHS several years ago. We did post-disaster investigations looking at tornadoes and a couple hurricanes, and we did note that 90% of the homes whose garage doors survived the storm in those events had no structural roof damage. So we see the connection there and the benefit of having a garage door that can perform in high winds, helping to limit the likelihood of damage to our roof. And the reason for that is because our garage door is the largest opening of our home. And when that fails, that can let the wind inside the home. And our homes aren't really built to withstand wind getting in. The goal of the home is to keep the wind out of the home. And when the winds blow, when the strong winds blow, they're trying to pull out a little bit on the walls and they're pulling up a little bit on the roof. And so when wind gets inside the home, when the garage door fails, or potentially a walking door fails or a window fails, that allows the wind to get inside the home. And now the forces inside are also pushing out on the walls and up on the roof, working with the forces on the outside. And then the wind is going to find its weakest point out. That could be a section of your roof. In some severe cases, it can be total roof structural loss and failure. And in some cases, it can blow out a side wall. We have seen that here in our large test chamber doing full-scale research of failing a garage door or penetrating the building envelope and letting the wind in and losing a roof system or blowing out an entire wall. So that's a critical connection that a lot of people don't think about. So probably the two biggest things and investments you can make to protect your home against wind are going to be fortifying your roof with a fortified roof that is offered here from IBHS and installing a wind-rated garage door. Or you can also purchase bracing kits at your local hardware store that can help strengthen your garage door that might not be wind rated as an event approaches.
Wow, there's a lot of stuff there, folks. So you need to go to IBHS.org. You can get a lot of practical steps to prepare your home for hurricanes, severe weather. It doesn't hurt. When we talk about Sarah, of course, now Senior Director of Product Design, but of course she spent 9 years at the Weather Channel, so she really knows what she's talking about here. I mean, in dollars, more than $9 trillion in insured coastal property exposed to hurricane risk along the Gulf and Atlantic coasts. And we're getting more and more inland now, as you say, and it's pretty frightening. It doesn't hurt for people to be a little bit proactive, does it, Sarah? Go to IBHS.org, study, have a cup of joe in your podgies, pajamas, whatever. Is there anything else you'd like to recommend that they should really plan for?
Oh, Oh, good. I think a lot of times we don't really think about, our safety plan until there's another event coming along the way. But, having your hurricane ready kit or your storm kit ready, things like batteries and supplies, those kinds of things. Also, having your insurance agent's contact on your phone should something happen and you need to contact your insurance agent, have that contact information readily saved in your phone. Always good to take a look at your homeowner's policy, do a refresher, see what your coverage looks like, and see if you want to readdress those things each year. That's always a good thing. That's kind of in the back of our minds until something happens, and then we're looking for the paperwork and looking on our apps trying to find all that information. So keep that handy as well. That's another good way to be prepared. Should something go wrong, you can call out to your insurance company and get that claims process started, and also document the items that you have in your home. Especially if you've made any new purchases, make sure you add that. You can take a video on your cell phone, store that in the cloud somewhere, and that can be easily accessible as well.
There you have it, folks. IBHS Senior Meteorologist and Senior Director of Product Design, Sarah Clapa. Sarah, thank you for your time and very informative, interesting stuff. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Mark. Safe season ahead.
Join us again for another episode of The Mark Bishop Show. It's a production of Mark Bishop Media.